Hey YouTube, it's Jurracmaster, and I kind of realized today the game has finally changed enough so that my old Jurrac builds aren't going to be as effective as I once had them working. So it's time to re-perfect Jurracs. So that's what I'm going to be working on for a little bit. Don't worry, I will still be using evils, and I will be covering hieratics and stuff like that when they come out this week. So hopefully I'll have at least the evils done, because the hieratics I have to get way too much. I don't think I'll be able to get them this weekend. So, sorry. So basically, I'm just going to be working on this. What really pushed me over the edge saying, alright, I need to change this deck, is the change of priority being gone. So since priority's gone, I really have a lot of work to do on this, because this thing never really got hurt from priority being there, or it never really needed priority, rather. But it did suffer because other decks could use it to their advantage, and we couldn't really use it to ours. The only real change I think that's going to happen is you can't tribute Aolo on priority. They'd have the chance to effect Veiler you first. But other than that, you're pretty safe. So I'm going to get into the deck. Alright, so pretty standard here are the 3 Guaiba and 3 Velo. Those things they make the Lagia, Dolka, all that, and they're just really good. I've got 2 Dino, decent draw effect, still a 1700 beater, and level 3 tuner, which is really nice. I've got the 1 Jurrac Golem. That thing's back in my deck. Well, I guess Golem is good for getting rid of opponents' monsters or forcing them to waste their hand, and it's really not going to be a problem. Dark Worlds are they're not prevalent enough. If you face them, watch out. Obviously use this carefully or side out of it, but it's just, you guys will see in a second why I chose to put that back in. And that choice would be because I threw back in Jurrac Hera, which you will also see why it's in here again later. Still running the 2 Aolo, and that wraps it up for the Jurracs. Now into the Darks. I've got Kinkabayo, and I'm using 2 Grandmaster Hanzo instead of the Elementsaurus like I used to. This thing it helps with monster control. It baits out those effect Veilers early, and it's still an 1800 beater, which is even stronger than the Jurracs. Now I've got 3 effect Veiler. I'm going to upgrade the middle one to ultimate rare if this ends up working out well. Basically, with priority gone, this stops Rabbit, this stops other things. I mean, you can basically use this to the effect that you could have basically solemn warninged something. Now you can hit this. Basically, the monster is useless. And what else is there to say? So, I'm going to see how that works. People might stop using cards that are going to lead into them getting hit by that, at which case I'll probably drop it back down to 2 or use Thunder King instead. And finally, I've got the Blackluster Soldier to wrap up the monsters. The spells are pretty standard. I'm only using 2 Fossil Digs. I'll explain that in a little more detail in a minute. I'm running 2 MST, which is different for me. I haven't done that in Jurracs in quite some time. 3 Forbidden Lance, and then just, staple stuff. Reborn, Dark Hole, Heavy Storm, and Mind Control. So, I'm going to jump into the traps now, and then I'll explain a few things before I move on. The traps are Solemn Judgment, 2 Deprison, 2 Call of the Haunted, Torrential, Ninjutsu Art of Super Transformation, and now these 3 I'm going to explain. First off, 2 bottomless trap hole, and 1 Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. So let me just jump into explanation camera mode. This right here, along with these, are going to start working so much better. This is honestly like a personal tech against Jurracs for when they come out, but at the same time it's not only at those. It basically stops so many things from doing what they want to get done, because you can just, without priority there, this gets Rabbit out of your face. It gets really anything with an effect out of your face, as long as it's not a mandatory or trigger effect or whatever. So it's a really, really good card to have in there. The same with these. These are basically Solemn Warnings now. They don't negate the summon, but why do you need to negate the summon now when, you know, they're not going to be able to call priority? That's really what that was for. The only problem you could have with that is, say they summon a Rabbit. So what? You get your effect, because I can't bottomless it. I'm pretty sure it's weak enough to... Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. It's not that strong. So they summon Rabbit, and you can't bottomless it. So what? I'm maining 3 Effect Veilers. So that's basically why I have Effect Veiler at 3, is because I've got so much stuff that gets around things, but if you do dodge me with your little monsters with effects, I mean, boom. So I've got so many ways to just stop you from bringing out monsters that are going to trouble me now. Another note, I noticed this deck is very heavy on tuners, as opposed to its non-tuners. I've got 8 level 4 monsters in here, and quite a few tuners. I've got 5 level 1 tuners, a level 2, and 2 level 3s, which, I mean, it's not unbalanced, it's gonna work, but this helps you recycle those monsters that you used to synchro or exceed with, and it just brings out more powerful stuff that your opponent won't be able to deal with as effectively. And one last reason that I brought Phoenix Wing Wind Blast back was because of Jurrac Hera. But at the same time, it's also because this thing could get stuck in your hand, or you might have this, so it can put Hera in the grave, it can get rid of dead cards, like that and the Hanzos and stuff. It could also manipulate light and dark count for your Blackluster Soldier. So, that's the main reason that's in there. Now I'm going to jump back into the deck and give you the extra deck. I've only got 2 Lagias in here. I don't see a problem with that, seeing as I have more synchro power now. Lagia is going to be an answer for when I don't have support, and for times where I just think it's a good play, but it's honestly not going to be as big a deal. Dolka, you know, just as the other option. I was thinking about putting in a 3rd Lagia and siding Dolka instead, but, I mean, with Gores being so used right now, I've kind of decided to go with that. Especially because it'll negate the Jurratic effects too, so it's another main deck option for Jurratics. Utopia Ray. Oh, and before I forget, I'm not saying that Jurratics are going to be like this big deck that are going to do well, but they are a pretty good force to be reckoned with, so don't underestimate them, guys. I cut down the rank 3 capabilities. There are only 2 level 3 monsters in here, plus anything you could mind control, and they're mainly to exceed with anyway, so, or to synchro with anyway. So I only have Levier, seeing as it runs a Chaos Engine, and off of Ninjutsu Art of Super Transformation, the card can get banished. So that's actually it for Exceeds, only 6 Exceeds. I've kind of gone back from an Exceed-heavy Jurrac deck to a Synchro-heavy Jurrac deck, and another reason for that is a lot of decks are going to be playing hate for, like, Exceeds over stuff that might hurt Synchros. I mean, they're basically going to be both the same thing, but you're going to have an edge up on them because Synchros are still a little stronger for the time being. Not to mention, it puts things in the grave straight away, so you can then reuse them to, say, exceed with, or to make a Blackluster Soldier. So I actually am running Mistworm. Good card, gets things off the field for me to then drop Blackluster Soldier, or to then Reborn and go into a Logia after clearing off some of their field and then just locking them down. Very good way to set things up. I've got Stardust. I was trying to add in Scrap Dragon or Colossal Fighter, but there just wasn't enough room, and I thought there's really only going to be one level 8 made in this deck per game. Maybe you'd have the chance to make another one, but it's not as significant a deal. So, yeah, that's basically it right there in a nutshell. You don't need more. Stardust is fine. The things you do need doubles of are 7, 6, and 5, because you can make those like crazy. So of course I'm going to have Black Rose, Scrap Archfiend for its high attack. Another thing is, you could actually put in Jurrac Giganoto, but I put in Scrap Archfiend to this build because it's a guaranteed 2700 as opposed to a lower attack if Giganoto doesn't have all of its monsters in grave. So that's why the Scrap Archfiend is in here. But by all means, feel free to go Giganoto. I might change it to, this is just the first testing phase of this deck. I said I have to re-perfect it because things have changed so much and it's been so long. So by no means am I really educated on what's going to work and what's not yet. But from what I can tell, this is going to be a smarter choice. But I'm going to be wrong on some choices in this deck. I'm going to have to remake it, and that's going to lead to more Jurrac videos for you guys in the future. But this is just a starting point. So, continuing on, I have Gaianite, the Force of Earth, Bryonic, Cataster, Android, and Formula Synchron. So, Formula Synchron is a light, it helps you draw, that's why he's in there, it's just the option. But the rest of them you should have picked up a good number of light and dark, level 5s, and those are easy enough to make with 5 level 1s, level 1 tuners. So finally I'm just going to jump into a little preliminary side deck I threw together, because I'm going to be running this weekend to test it out at my locals. So I just wanted to have a side deck ready, but by no means is this a great side deck. So I've got 2 summon limit. Once again, those will stop some hieratic plays, but mainly it's just to just stop things from swarming you if you have a weak defense against that deck. 2 Shadow Imprisonings. These things just, a lot of decks run darks out there, so it's there to just stop those. I'm not positive what's going to be played and what's not. So, and 2 Compulse, just because, as I said, they work very well this format as well, and I thought I'd side them. Book of Moon for any decks that you need it against. I mean, it's hard to explain that. Thunder Kings, mainly for decks that it works against, but also things that you don't need your Veilers for. You want to replace them with lights. These are 1900 beaters with a pretty good effect that will be a pain in the opponent's side, and if you don't need Veiler, it's a good replacement for this deck. 2 Kaiku, just in case you're finding that you need it, or you're finding that your Hanzos aren't working out in that matchup. And you would have to replace the trap, obviously, but that's easy enough to do. You just pop in maybe Book of Moon, Compulse, or something else like that. Maybe even Thunder King Ryo, who knows, whatever you think is the best choice. And 3 DD Crows for graveyard manipulation in duels where you think you need it. And this also helps with the dark count if you want to run it like that. So that's why I didn't put in maybe D-Fissure or something like that. I put in Thunder Kings instead, or not Thunder Kings, DD Crows instead. I was looking at Thunder King when I said that. So that's the update on this. I will keep updating you guys as I make changes to this. If you guys try out a deck similar to this, like if you take this deck and try Giganoto instead of Scrap Archfiend, go ahead and give me an update on how you think that's working for you, because I'd love to hear feedback on it. I haven't actually gotten around to playing this yet, so it's just going off of past performance of builds that are similar to this, that I've used, and me just eyeballing the changes to the format and the changes to the ruling with priority going. So I hope this was a good video for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope that I can do a good job getting Jurracs back to the way I had them, but working that way in this format. So any feedback, any advice, comments, questions, anything you have, just go ahead and leave them in the comments or send me a private message. But until I have the evils and hieratics done, I guess I'll just say have a nice day.